Hey, I am Reverend Maureen Cotton from The Soulful Wedding. I am a spiritual but not religious minister, and I am here to help you have a deeply meaningful and authentic wedding ceremony. Today, I want to walk you through how I think about doing remembrances with my couples. Remembrance is honoring those who have already passed on. When you're getting married, if you have lost somebody dear to you, their absence tends to really get highlighted. And the closer they were to you, like if it was a parent, the more that it is highlighted, because the wedding day has roles for certain people. And if those people are missing, it can be really painful. So first, just realize that tending to your grief is something you'll have to do with your wedding planning, on top of everything else you're doing. So just make sure you have good support, whether that's just talking to your partner, your friends, your family, a therapist. Just acknowledge your grief is going to get stirred while planning the wedding. And then you're also going to have to face the question of if and how to honor those who have passed on the day of. So I'm going to walk you through everything from just making little tokens to the day to actually having a remembrance ritual in your ceremony. And please know, there is no singular answer. It is something for you to ruminate on, perhaps with the input of your family, but it's really going to be your choice. So first, besides just acts in the ceremony, there can just be tokens for the deceased. I've seen everything from the chuppah had fabric from the groom's mom's wedding dress or had scarves that she wore. Sometimes people will hold a seat for the parent, and it could be an empty seat. It could be the bride's father's jacket is actually hanging on the back of it, or maybe the florist just puts a tiny little flower in a vase on that seat, and so you just kind of know it's there. So you can have an object that was there on the wedding day, or you could just hold a little space for them. If you're feeling really tender and thinking you're probably not going to do a remembrance ritual, you might even have a hard time hearing their name in the ceremony, a really nice option is to utilize your wedding ceremony program. A program can have lots of different things in it. It always has, of course, your name, your date. It usually lists the immediate family, usually lists the wedding party. And because it lists the family, it's a nice opportunity where you, for example, if you lost your father, you would name your mom there as present as your parent, your mother. But then you could also say, in memorial, or in our hearts today, or those we miss today. Or if you believe that your loved one is now an angel, angels among us, or whatever the right language is for you. But making it clear in the program, this is your loved one, they're part of your community, they're part of your journey, they're not with us on earth anymore in any way you would like, and putting their name there. When it comes to the actual ceremony itself, if you would like to do or say more, right at the beginning is really the space that makes sense, because part of the beauty of a wedding is that a community has gathered to honor you and to hold sacred space for you. So I always find when I'm officiating a wedding, it's so natural to look around, say it's so beautiful that everybody has gathered here, it's so powerful, and we feel those who are absent. And this is also a chance, by the way, little side note, if you have people who are still alive but not able to come to the wedding for any reason whatsoever, this is an opportunity to mention them. If you'd like to say grandma couldn't travel but she's sending her love from afar, you can include them. In a moment, you just want to make it clear this person is alive but unable to attend, and then you have your dearly departed. The most simple thing to do is simply to say, please take a moment to bring into your heart those who we miss today. And you can have a moment of silence that you say, let's have a moment of silence for them, or you can have a prayer if that's part of your life, or it can just be an unmarked pause. Even just a 5-second pause in a ceremony is significant. Please bring into your heart those who we miss today. And allow that little moment of silence. So you don't even have to name someone if it doesn't feel comfortable to you, but you know who you will be thinking of. A simple add-on here is to then name the people that you feel you want to name. Maybe you've lost grandparents or other folks like that in your life, but you also lost a parent or you also lost a sibling, like a really, really close and foundational relationship. You might just say, we bring into our hearts all those who we miss today, especially, and then your officiant says, so-and-so's dad and their name. Optionally, you can add on a little bit more if you wish. You can say something about them. You could say how they would feel about the day. So for example, if your parent died before they ever met your spouse, you can acknowledge that and say, bring into your heart those who we miss, especially so-and-so's dad. He never had the opportunity to meet so-and-so, but we know that he would be so happy to see this day come. Or the opposite, if they did meet, we know so-and-so met this person and really cherished them, and we're glad they came into the family and would be so happy to see them formally joining the family today. You can say a little bit more. And if you want to say even a little bit more about them, about their personality, about what you miss about them, you go as far as you like. But I think most people, as they start to think this through, kind of feel their comfort level. Something I should address in the midst of all this is a big question people often have is, how do we acknowledge people and honor them without bringing the vibe of the wedding down? And I want to assure you that mentioning those who have passed on and even having a moment where we touch our grief does not bring a wedding down. It does not. Our grief is a dimension of our love. When we talk about these people, we feel our love for them. It opens our heart, and then our heart is more open to the other beautiful feelings happening in the day. And I always say, think of movies, think of any show, even the Care Bears or something that's all like love and light. There's still a conflict in every episode, right? We still have the most fulfilling connective experience when we have multiple emotions. So don't be afraid to touch your grief on your wedding day. The exception to that, this is getting complex for a little YouTube video, but I really want to share this because this is a big question for a lot of people. But there are exceptions to that. There are those whose loved ones have died either very recently or violently. Maybe there's a court case that is still like wreaking havoc in the family. If the situation around the death was really complex and is so freshly painful and something that is still being grappled with every single day, and so thinking of that person will mentally derail you, that might be an exception to this. I think 90% of the time, mentioning our loved ones, allowing us to feel we miss them is a beautiful thing, but I have worked with couples whose loved ones have passed in really challenging circumstances that are still unhealed. And so a way I encourage you to think about this is if the death is like a gaping open wound in your life, or if it's more like a scar or a bruise in your life, that like it's still tender, but it's kind of mostly healed, or if you find yourself in a situation where you're still really reeling, that might be the situation where you want to go for the simplicity of naming them in the program and just having a general statement, because if you go there, you really will get derailed. Most situations are not that. You're going to know when you're listening to this if you're someone kind of in that category who is already daily really struggling. And you can always reach out to me if you have questions about this and you need extra guidance. And reach out to people in your life too if the things I'm saying really resonate with you. You really need support. So those disclaimers in place, I have a little more to share with you. For those who want to really bring their loved one's presence even more strongly forward, you will consider doing a remembrance ritual. Let me share two of my favorites. One is a simple candle lighting ritual. And this can be as simple as lighting a single candle to honor all of those who have passed on and having that candle lit during the ceremony. It can be more specific, where you have a photograph of that person and a candle in front of that photograph. That candle can be lit by you, the couple, or you can invite specific people up to light specific candles. I've done it all kinds of ways. I've done it that really simple, the couple lights one candle, we put it to the side, and I've done it where we take 5 to sometimes 10 minutes to really name and bring into our hearts each individual person, and we'll have different people come up. You'll know what feels right to you. You'll know how much attention you want to give each person. There's one final ritual that I think is extremely potent and beautiful, especially if, well, I was going to say especially if your dearly departed loved one was a member of your immediate family. But it can really be adapted for anybody. And it is to do a flower ritual, a flower honoring ritual. And I think this is most beautiful when both the living and the dead are honored similarly. Let me tell you exactly what I mean by that. I'm going to tell you about a specific ceremony to help me explain this. So I worked with a couple who really knew from the beginning they really wanted to honor their family. And the bride in particular had a very unusual upbringing. Because of her early loss of her mother, she ended up being taken care of by multiple people over the course of her life. So she had aunts, uncles, grandparents who really were like a parent to her. And when she looked back on her life journey, she was just so in awe of all the love that she received, and she wanted to honor all those people. And it wasn't just the typical structure. So we decided to do a flower honoring ritual. And the first part of that was that she and her groom each gave a flower to their immediate families but I'll use that word fluidly. Again, that ended up including aunts, uncles, grandparents for her, the people that raised them and the people who were raised around them, siblings, sometimes cousins. So it was really their way of claiming, these are our closest relationships, these are the people we honor. So they actually went over and handed a flower to each person. Everybody was sobbing. It was so beautiful. They weren't really expecting it, and to be included in that way is really very moving. The second part of the ritual was that we did the same honoring for the dearly departed. So up at the front, we had a table and had photographs of those who had passed on in the same category. So that included her mom. It also included a grandparent who had been like a parent to her. And so after they gave the flowers to each living member of their family that they wanted to honor, I then said the names and the relationships of the departed, and they walked over and they put a flower in the vase next to each photograph. It really, really had this powerful, poignant feeling of completing the community that day as much as we possibly could and keeping their presence alive. It was very moving. It's not for everyone to give the deceased that much attention, but if you're inclined to do it, I recommend that ritual or some way of adapting it. Again, feel free to reach out to me. I know this is a really difficult topic and there's not a lot of good guidance out there, but take some time to feel what feels right to you, to get support from those around you, and good luck in honoring your loved ones on your wedding day.